Hey there, people. I'm back again. I will probably put this up tomorrow so you don't have to watch two endless long videos of mine on the same day or won't be even invited to. So, um, it's a bit, to me, it feels a bit dark in here because I even closed a curtain, even though that doesn't help. There's like a street football competition or something of that sort going on over yonder at the back of the other, let sets of houses right there. And they're just ding, 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 because we can't do anything these days without loud music with lots of drums and lots of beats in it. And otherwise, people will sag and flag and wander off, I guess. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know. So, in order to have people I find it really scary because, I'm slightly traumatized. So, from the old days, and I hate noise. So, I'm just going to try and talk to you because I have, other than the Kazanlar, yay, I'm done. Oh. I love doing that type of work, and I'm really hoping that you can watch my walkthrough on some device where you can get a bit of the detail because I just tried to rewatch some just now and didn't really get all, sharpness that I tried to put in. So the first card that I pulled out of the deck in my 3 card draw that I did yesterday was the Eight of Pentacles. Yes. And the second one was the World card, which is kind of cool because I had an episode with World cards a couple of weeks ago around the whole past lives, adventure. It's all kind of subsided now. Everything is more or less in order. Also, because this is what I'm really coming to at the moment, I want to do a Shakti energy work update. And for you guys who have never heard me yammer on about that, I want to really rather badly do like an intro of this sort of a new a review of what it is that I do and what it is that why I call it that, and so on and so forth. Hopefully for no more than 10 minutes. And then I want to tell you about the progress that I have made because there has been progress. Oh, yes, quite a bit. So, I'm on a personal, background note, I have been more or less forced to go into this type of energy work slash meditation that I do that has there's like a set of techniques that I use most regularly, and that has been sort of, I have been more or less in my life been made to get into that. So it's like a lot of it is like getting into a better frame with myself, getting, if possible, healing my life. It's something I need. So I'm really glad and really grateful that I actually do have these techniques, that I can actually do this type of thing fairly, that I've got a bit of training by now and I can sort of put things in place to, and I also have learned so much but I started off with nothing much except fear and drama. So that's where I come from. I have been in a position where I didn't just, I did not just, but I didn't start meditating because I was, overworking myself and overdoing it slightly, and I needed to have some me time. That's not it. My life has been upside down, up over the hills and under the hills, and quite a bit of it is, whole Harry Potter slash Lord of the Rings type nutty, crazy stuff. So, for more about that, see, the channel because I can't, I can't bore you with more details at the moment. I want to get to the meditation techniques that I am using. So since I started in early January, I think, or maybe late December even, last year, with the notion that, okay, so I've got a set of meditation techniques that I'm using. I'm using like a crown chakra type activation, sort of, which is really all what I call working with white light. And white light is an impersonal, sort of an absolute source of light that I can come into contact with. I can sort of reach for that, not at a drop of a hat, but quite quickly, because it's the thing that I tend to do whenever I'm in trouble. And I have seen, that's one technique. And the other technique that I tend to use most often is what is really a Tibetan approach, that is called the 3 refuges, that I just keep coming back to. And where that's a technique where you find silence within yourself. So the silence has also an impersonal side to it, a less personal side. It is about finding your way, finding a new perspective if possible, away from, the drama or the pressure or whatever it is that you are potentially doing to yourself, what I tend to do to myself that doesn't work, doesn't get me anywhere. Okay, so those two work really well together. There's the white light work becomes a lot easier, a lot clearer. You can, because of the work on the refuges. Let me explain. If you work with any type of refuges or silence type of meditation, it leads one to detachment, and that is of course in all sorts of Buddhist trains of thought. That is extremely important. You have to find a way to, and I think that's our challenge really as humans, and especially nowadays, to find a way to be yourself and acknowledge who you are and where you're coming from and whatever it is that's on your mind and the potential issues that we carry around with us in whatever form, as well as go for detachment of some sort, because you need space and you need a perspective. You need to feel the possibility to move on in some way. So working, I think that's both of those have been quite important to me, and I have been using that. There's like a maybe that's the most important thing that I can give you at the moment from the 3 refuges type meditation, is that at the back of the heart area against the spine, there's really a like a tiny white silent spot that has that is very personal to each and every one of us, and it is quite often it is difficult to access. So that's where doing, like, inviting yourself again and again, and this is a matter of years, that I'm talking about, inviting yourself to come back to silence and stillness. It makes it eventually, more and more aware. You become more aware of these inner realms, of parts of yourself that are really a lot stronger and a lot more about silent potential inside than what we live with, what we tend to live and work with on a daily basis. So from that side of myself, doing any form of white light or energy work has become way easier, and I have been doing a lot of the time. What I do is making a distinction between an energy or some type of an energy field of some sort, to distinguish whether the field was my own or not, or if it comes from somebody else. What you get is my husband comes home from work And I can see in the way in the sort of the aura around him who he's been with. That's what I get. So you have to sort of shut it all down and turn it all off back to zero if you want to go outside to shop, to do a bit of shopping, because otherwise you just go ding, 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 with all the influences and all the pressure and the load and the rucksack that everybody carries around with him. So that's the, it has lots of advantages for me, but there's some kind of side to the thing that I have to use the manual, otherwise there's more craziness on the other side of that. So I'm not going to be short about this. I can't be short. I swear to God. So I made cards for myself. So there's like a little handful of sort of like, what do you call those? Flashcards. This is about the white light. I'm just going to show them to you, and then I can talk and show them at the same time. So this is the white light comes from above, and there it is. Okay, so you're in the middle of that, or maybe you're at the little star at the bottom, and whatever the white light does for us, it helps, because it can distinguish. It can help you distinguish what is yours and what isn't, what you still need, what you don't need anymore, and that type of thing, which is really cool. And that has worked for me quite a bit. So part 2 of the white light activity is really this thing here. Now, I hope you can see that in the middle there's this little figure, and he or she is standing on the earth. See? And what you get, there's like a circle under his feet, and that will be the Earth Star chakra. So that is a chakra that doesn't get talked about enough, I think, but will be, I hope, in the future, underneath our feet, so in the earth, okay? And it's outside the body, really, the physical body. And what you get then is like a funnel shape going down from the Earth Star all the way down to the heart of the earth. And the white light from above acting on that. So this is a part of the beginning of coming into contact with Shakti energy. For me, that started here, because I worked with white light over there and sort of over here, more or less, and I didn't really, at some point, I just found out that there was important stuff going on underneath my feet, okay? And that's where the white light came in. And I I still do this quite regularly to check what's going on in there, because I found that there's a whole lot of connection stuff through this earth line where you're connected to at least layers in history. So there's more cards about that. So if you like this, welcome, because I thought, there's quite a number of new subscribers, and there's people who have probably got this idea like, oh my God, what you going on about? So hopefully this helps a bit. What you get is for us to have Shakti energy, to have access to Shakti. Maybe some people have this flow of Shakti energy just fine by themselves, and they don't need to do this. But if you can bring white light into that air star area, then it'll take out at some point, especially if you want it and if you ask for it, some of the fossilized, mud that can be agglutinated in there, and that will, for decades of our lives, just block any sense of being connected to the earth and us being a part of a great energy system that goes from this body up into yonder and down to the heart of the earth, with all sorts of ramifications and connections and things going on, which is what I'm really bringing to you here. We're part of this huge invisible system, and we need the Shakti is what comes out of the earth. It comes out of the earth anyway, and it has made my Shakti energy that I walk around inside of, has made me, all of me, including, failing eyes and grey hair and whatever it is that I can do at the moment or can't do, or anything. Any part of me is really part of my Shakti. And so when Shakti comes into the body, basically at the, at the bottom, at the tailbone chakra, the root chakra, that's what I'm trying to think of. That's when it becomes Kundalini energy. And that's what everybody talks about. And then we get chakras and that type of stuff. And what I'm doing here is like, I'm not living in India. I'm not sort of limited, if you want to call it that. Doesn't necessarily have to be a limitation, but I don't live within that framework of thought that India has around the chakras and the Kundalini energy. They work with this stuff, but they don't necessarily, I don't think, I think that I have reasons way back when, probably in past lives, where I used to be connected with that type of stuff. And what I'm doing now here is, as a Western European person, I'm kind of culturally appropriating what I can, but I'm also trying to make something more out of it because that's what I needed. So sue me. In order. So that's why I'm just not going into that really. It's not important. At least not to me, because I think this is just grand stuff, and we need to see more of this energy, all these processes and all these distinctions, and everybody's talking about auras and chakras. So here's a foundation, if you like, for those approaches. And there's no, would you call that? There's no conflict, that's the word I'm looking for, between my approach and their approach. I'm just saying I'm going deeper. I'm going deeper than Kundalini and chakras. And that's why I don't call my approach Kundalini energy work, because there's lots of that out there and everybody does that their own way. And what you get is a lot of it is really not so much on the surface as the processes and the change and the growth and the life that people are describing with Kundalini and with chakras is really part of the way they live as humans. Okay, so which is what you'd expect, more or less. Okay, but I'm trying to get behind all that, and because that's what I need really. So I keep getting dragged into that distinction, and it's just, they're two separate, they're not separate, they're all part of the same big world, and I'm just saying the world is bigger than that, okay? Chakras are real, Kundalini is real. So, yeah. So in order to become aware of our Shakti energy, I think that's essential. We really need to make contact with that, and that takes time. That's something that just has to sit with us for quite a bit. And even though the Shakti energy is really powerful and can be a bit overwhelming at times, it is part of us, number one. And number two, it only goes where it is invited. So it doesn't just bulldoze us. Never, I have never encountered that. It may, after a while, at some point in your process, you may encounter a moment, I have certainly, where the energy has actually been accepted into your body at some point. I don't know, throat, heart area, that type of thing. And you need some time to readjust. And there may be resistance at that point. You may go like, oh my God, what just happened? And I don't get this. Or things are changing and I don't know how to call this. Feels different. So that's very normal. And it's not the end of the world, because we can adapt. Only we have to figure out, I have to, for myself at that type of point, I have to figure out what it is that's different and what I want really. So I don't need to be afraid of the Shakti, ever. It is a balm to my whole life. That's why I'm putting this out there, because it's very positive to me. So in terms of becoming more aware of the whole Shakti thing, after, this white light business, going into the Earth star and seeing whatever can be done there, that it was maybe not a point that everybody needs to look at. It just depends. You can also go back and forth between these parts of the activity and see what happens at that moment and see what you need. Of course, that's what I'm hoping. But this is really important. My card number 3 here, it is there's a person sitting on his bottom in a lotus type position, and what you see is his sense of the earth energy, the way he feels that, he or she. This is my card for the type of relaxation that we need in the base chakra, the root chakra area. And that's quite a bit of that's a tricky bit right there, because the root chakra, I have found, goes like this whenever we feel ever so slightly unsafe. So that maybe at any time, it may be quite normal, because we have to regulate the amount of Shakti energy that's coming into us. That's the way we feel anyway. And that's what I'm trying to make us let go of, to some extent, for a little while. Okay? So this is something we have to learn then, and that's what I had to learn, and what I still have to pay attention to. In the meantime, I've been at this for 4 and a bit months, like I said. So for me nowadays, I have this relaxation, this, I always associate that a lot with the Ace of Pentacles, or with the Queen of Pentacles, or even the King. It's just like, I'm here, I'm cool, everything's fine, I'm physically perfectly in the middle of my space here. And that's one way of looking at it, I suppose. And it's already that state of relaxation, and of it's got kind of acceptance in it, and it's got some kind of it's got happiness even, definitely. So if that happens, then the relaxation allows for opening of the root chakra area, and the Shakti will come into the body. And that feels normally, that will feel good. You can identify it as heat. I think that's basically what it always is. It will always present itself as heat. And there's a tendency for that energy, and that's my next card here, the card that I'd forgotten, so it has number 3.5 on it, see? It has a tendency to fan outwards in the body. So the Shakti doesn't go straight up or into the next, like you would expect if it was a train with a locomotive at the front and the little cars after it, like that. You'd expect the Shakti to come in on this side and ding, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever many installments you want to think of. Doesn't do that. It goes sideways because it wants to be used as quickly as possible. And what you get is that's where it goes into chakra areas. So chakras 1, 2, 3 in the belly, right, will be powered the soonest by the Shakti energy. And this happens the whole time. So when we feel like we have some type of position that needs defending, for example, that's what gets powered up. And we want this, or we don't want the other. Okay, so that's the type of thing that happens to us the whole time. That's how most of our lives are built up, out of instinctual, almost but not quite physical pluses and minuses. So going for, going against type of thing. And this part of that is sexual life. So a lot of Shakti energy will tend to divert sideways into the sexual organs, and something happens to them, to that, in whatever way that we tend to live our lives. In that respect, the energy hangs around there or gets used in some other way. But most of that type of, the Shakti energy at the first stage of contact will go into the belly at some level. So there will be all sorts of pros and contras type of interaction with things. So we are not, what happens then is because of this, because of the moving sideways thing, nothing is really changing to our experience of things. And also it depends what you need, right? Do you need to change? If you can let the Shakti or this energy thing or the Kundalini, whatever you like to call it, at that point, come up to your heart area easily, and you can feel the warmth in your heart, then maybe you're fine. Maybe it's for you, that's quite enough, and that can already be a priceless type of meditation for us. And maybe that's enough, and maybe that makes you happy, makes you feel good. It will certainly, I hope, certainly allow for, expansion in the heart area. This is a very basic set of things that you can do, and you could stop here and be fine and do this the rest of your life, now and then, whenever you feel the need. And it will allow for the heart perspective to come by the side of the underbelly perspective. Okay, so where up to this point I was describing the pros and contras and being drawn to things and being pushed away from things, and like constant antagonism or conflict, or also very much thinking in black and whites and that type of thing. That's all really underbelly type stuff. I hate this, I want that, all that. So from taking the energy to the heart area is already that much of a huge improvement. And that's, a lot of people want this, and a lot of people do that already, or even they do it automatically without ever sitting down to philosophize about what the energy is actually doing. So having got this far, I'm already halfway in. I'm going to stop this now and resume, so you have 2 videos to watch instead of just 1, okay? Because that'll allow me for a gloop of tea as well, because lubrication, oh my goodness. See you in a bit.